Adolf Hitler was obsessed with public ceremony. He demanded to be seen, deliberately cultivating an image of absolute authority before the crowds. To enforce this image, he commissioned highly customized parade vehicles. The passenger seat retracted to reveal a hidden podium, and the floorboards were raised by 5 inches. When standing with the convertible roof down, this artificially boosted his height to 7 feet 10 inches above the street. But making himself highly visible to the public meant he was completely exposed from the chest up. A single well-placed shot from the crowd could end his life instantly, turning a standard luxury car into a high-value target. His demand for maximum visibility created a direct conflict for his designers. They had to build a vehicle capable of surviving a concentrated military ambush without obstructing the passengers standing in the open. The solution was the heavily modified Mercedes 770K. A dedicated team of 56 men hand-assembled these vehicles, tailored to meet the dictator's conflicting requirements. Mercedes transformed the 770K into a 10,000-pound rolling bunker. Every component relied on custom steel armor and thick glass to withstand street-level violence. To understand exactly how much punishment this machine could take, we are putting it through a virtual gauntlet of 4 escalating assassination attempts. The first attack aims to disable the vehicle's mobility. Metal caltrop spikes are hurled directly into the road to shred the tires and permanently halt the convoy. Despite looking ordinary, these tires are mounted on 19-inch armored steel wheels and designed completely differently from standard rubber. This diagram shows a cross-section of the tire. Inside, it is divided into 20 individual subchambers. When a spike punctures the outer layer, only that specific chamber deflates. The adjacent reinforced rubber walls stay perfectly intact, allowing the 5-ton vehicle to maintain its speed. With the car moving, the second attack is a Molotov cocktail thrown directly onto the hood. The goal is to ignite the engine block, trapping the passengers behind a wall of fire. Normally, the flames would slip through the bonnet and cause the engine to shut down. But the 770K utilizes a fire-resistant steel chassis and sodium-cooled exhaust valves that handle extreme heat, along with massive buffer zones that starve the fire of any usable fuel. However, there is a massive fire vulnerability sitting at the back of the car. Because the heavily armored vehicle only achieves around 4 to 6 miles per gallon, it carries a massive 51-gallon fuel tank. To protect this highly flammable weak point, Mercedes borrowed technology directly from German military aviation. This animation shows the cross-section of the tank. It is wrapped in armor plating and lined with 10 millimeters of self-sealing rubber. If a bullet pierces the shell, the fuel chemically reacts with the rubber layer. It instantly swells and expands, completely plugging the puncture hole and stopping a pressurized leak. The spikes and the fire burn out. Standard street-level ambush tactics are entirely useless against a vehicle engineered to heal its own wounds and shrug off extreme thermal damage.
The gauntlet escalates to a third invisible threat, a pressure-activated anti-tank landmine buried directly in the center of the road. To prevent the car from ever reaching an explosive like this, it traveled inside an expansive security bubble. Decoy cars flanked the main vehicle, while heavily armed motorcycle outriders actively scanned the crowds. There were even immediate medical contingencies. Hitler's personal physician, Dr. Theo Morell, traveled in the rear of the convoy to treat any injuries within minutes. Drivers were also heavily trained in evasion. They leaked decoy schedules to confuse attackers and relied on instinctual last-second route changes to avoid predictable choke points. But if evasion failed and the car drove over the mine, the passengers were protected by an 11mm manganese-treated hardened steel plate running the full length of the floorboards. This diagram shows how it works. When the blast wave detonates beneath the flat structural plane, it doesn't punch through a single point. Instead, the hardened plate absorbs the kinetic force and distributes it evenly outward across the entire surface area. The 770K relied on a dual-layered defense against explosives, a psychological shield of total unpredictability, backed up by a physical shield of hardened steel. The final unavoidable threat is a point-blank ballistic ambush. An MG-42 machine gun opens fire from a concealed position, unleashing up to 1,500 rounds per minute directly at the doors and windows. The bullets hit the doors first, smashing into 18mm steel body panels. These are 18 times thicker than a standard car panel, pushing the weight of a single door to over 330 pounds. But the windows required a much more complex engineering solution. They are lined with 45mm thick Panzer glass, built using alternating sheets of glass and transparent resin.
A bullet strikes and shatters the outermost glass, absorbing the initial violent impact. Pushing through, it is caught by the flexible resin layer. The force ripples outward, draining the projectile's momentum and stopping it completely before reaching the inner cabin. Against overwhelming, sustained brute force, the complex material engineering of the 770K successfully neutralizes the world's most deadly infantry weapons. Pushing through the ambush requires monumental physical force. The driver has to rapidly accelerate 5.3 tons of battered steel out of the kill zone. This is handled by a massive 7.7-liter inline 8-cylinder engine producing 230 horsepower. It relies on extensive redundancies, including dual spark plugs designed by Ferdinand Porsche, to ensure the combustion process continues even if one component fails. The engine roars, the tires grip the road, and the car escapes the threats, delivering its passenger unharmed to the steps of the Reich Chancellery. The Mercedes 770K stands as a masterclass in survival engineering. It provided the wood-veneered luxury and open-air visibility required for ceremony, but the core of its design was dictated by extreme paranoia, a 5-ton machine overbuilt by a factor of 10 to ferry a man who knew the entire world wanted him dead.